And now to correct my initial report. This morning I made a video talking about the Dwayne Brown trade, and this afternoon things changed a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and address those things because the nature of the deal has changed, and it definitely affects how I feel about it. So we were trading Jeremy Lane and a couple of draft picks for Dwayne Brown. That trade went out the door when Jeremy Lane failed his physical with the Houston Texans. Therefore, he is no longer considered an asset to the Houston Texans, and they did not want to make him part of the trade. So, we were lucky enough to be able to amend the trade. New trade, we get Dwayne Brown, and we get a 5th-round pick next year, and we are now giving up a 3rd-round pick and a 2nd-round pick the year after. So basically, the trade got a little worse for us. Now, I'll talk about why I feel that way, and I think pretty much all Seahawks fans feel that way. But first of all, let me just say I'm still happy with this deal. I'm still excited about this deal. We got a left tackle who can play football. We got a guy who can fill Russell Okung's shoes at the very least. And if we have to give up future draft capital to do that, so be it. But let's go ahead and break this new trade down in positives and negatives. Let's start with the positives. The main one is everything this Seattle Seahawks team is doing right now is designed to make the team win right now. As in this season, maybe next season, everything we are doing is screwing over the future in the name of winning now. And if you take a look at what we were giving up before versus what we are giving up now, Jeremy Lane is going to do more to help this team win this year than future draft capital would have. He just does. Look, I'm not a big Jeremy Lane fan. I don't think he's played very well the last season and a half. I don't think he's the same guy who was a really good nickel cornerback before his leg got destroyed in the Super Bowl. I don't think he ever came back 100% from that devastating injury he had in that Super Bowl. And this year, I think he's been pretty bad. And I did not like the contract we gave him. I thought that was a ridiculous extension that we gave him when he was still trying to prove that he was capable of playing an effective cornerback. I don't really like his attitude very much. I'm just not a fan of him, but I know he's better than some random guy you pull off the street. And right now, this Seattle Seahawks team, Sherman, Griffin, Coleman, and after that, it gets thin. So if you deal Jeremy Lane, you are A, banking on nobody getting hurt, and B, banking on someone else stepping up that, we don't even really think about. And Jeremy Lane, for all of his problems, for all the stuff that he hasn't done so far this year for us, he's better than that. So having Jeremy Lane around for the rest of this year, at least, is better for our team. So that's the main positive here, compared to the early deal. Don't get me wrong. It's still a positive. We got a good left tackle to protect Russell Wilson, and we built what should be a competent offensive line for the rest of the year. Don't get me wrong. Okay, let's get into the negatives because, first of all, we just missed out on our chance to get some real value out of Jeremy Lane. In fact, if you take a look at the new deal compared to the old deal, it seemed like the Houston Texans were valuing Jeremy Lane about as much as an early 4th-round pick. So in terms of value, we were basically getting an early 4th-round pick for a cornerback who hasn't played well for a year and a half and has significant injury issues and maybe even some attitude issues. And now we miss out on that value. We had to give up that value in draft capital to make this trade happen because we couldn't do it with Lane. And from my perspective, Jeremy Lane doesn't have very much value at all for all the reasons I just listed. So the fact that we came very close to getting good value from a guy who doesn't really fit in with what we're doing anymore. It sucks that it fell through. So there's that. There's Jeremy Lane's contract. I was so happy that thing was out of here. Now it's back. His money for the rest of this year is guaranteed. He's got a contract running through the next 2 seasons after this because we extended him way too long, and now we have to deal with that. Maybe we can trade him next year. Maybe we just release him and some other team can pick him up and pick up his contract. I don't know. But I don't like having that contract back on our books. It's forcing us to do some financial jump rope, which is going to hurt us later. And that kind of goes into my next concern. I think the biggest problem in a macro sense with this new deal is we are definitely going all in on winning right now, but this new trade makes that more the case. We gave up a 3rd round pick next year, and look, a 3rd round pick is a 3rd round pick. The draft is a crapshoot. I know that. I know the Seahawks have made bad draft picks over this past several years as well. They made good ones. They made bad ones. We are just as capable of missing as we are of hitting, but you know, you lose the 2nd round pick the year after, you lose the 2nd round pick next year for Sheldon Richardson, and it builds up. It really does. And this is going to hurt later on because not only are we losing draft picks that we're going to get some of those back because of you know, compensatory picks, but not all of them. We're losing those picks, and all the money we're moving around in order to make all this stuff work, because now with Jeremy Lane back, we have even more financial problems. Russell Wilson had all of his salary this year converted to signing bonus, which will basically make his cap hit bigger in the coming years. We're probably going to go to Bobby Wagner and ask him to do a restructuring to get his cap spread out over the next couple years of his contract instead of this year. And basically, we're doing things that bad teams tend to do when they're desperately trying to build a winner in the short term. We're trading draft picks for current players. We're mixing things up financially in a way that's going to kill our cap in the future. And it's not exactly the happiest of places because, look, I'll just say it. This team can win the Super Bowl this year. This Seahawks team has a Super Bowl roster and can go do it. If they don't, we're going to be looking at a really tough situation next year because, you know, Sheldon Richardson, you got to figure he's gone. If we keep Sheldon Richardson, you know, Bennett, Averill, Graham, all these guys, they're never going to be here next year. Guys like Tyler Lockett and Frank Clark are going to be in contract years. Paul Richardson's going to be due for an extension. It gets ugly really fast, and the Jeremy Lane trading Jeremy Lane away was a way to mitigate that a little bit. But he let us down one last time. He's been letting us down the last year and a half, basically. Let us down one more time. He failed his physical, and we had to give up more future draft capital and move more money around because of that. So I can't even be mad at the guy. I suspect that Jeremy Lane's just going to have injury problems for the rest of his career. I can't blame him. I would probably have injury issues for the rest of my life too if my leg fell apart in the Super Bowl like that. But yeah, the trade got worse. There's no other way to put it. There are some silver linings here. I mean, we're going to feel really grateful about this if Shaquille Griffin gets hurt, if Justin Coleman gets hurt. But yeah. All right. This video went on way too long for a subject like that, but the future is in question. We have great superstar players on this team. We have long-term fair contracts for a lot of them, but the money we are moving around, we're going to feel it sooner rather than later. All right. I'll make a video for this Redskin game in a few days. See you guys.